I made a huge mistake. I hired a private investigator for fun, something I thought would be a harmless way to pass the time. I didn't expect it to change my life forever. What had he found? Well, it destroyed everything I thought I knew about myself and the people around me. Trust me, you won't believe what happened next, and you need to hear the whole story. It all started one evening when I was hanging out with some friends. We were talking about life, the usual things, what we wanted to do, what we wanted to know. And somehow, the conversation turned to secrets. We all joked about how we love to know the hidden truths about people's lives, maybe even dig up some dirt on each other for fun. It was all laughs, until one of my friends mentioned hiring a private investigator. At first, I laughed it off. Why would anyone want to do that? Who wants to know secrets that could potentially ruin friendships? But the more we talked, the more intrigued I became. What if we could uncover real, juicy stuff? Not just silly gossip, but the kind of things that could actually surprise us? The idea lingered in my mind for days. It wasn't just a joke anymore, it felt like a challenge. A few days later, I decided to go through with it. Why not? I'd contact a professional private investigator just to see what they could dig up. I mean, how bad could it be, right? There were no skeletons in my closet. Or so I thought. I made the call, and the investigator seemed eager. He sounded experienced, professional, like someone who had done this countless times. Little did I know, that call would open a door I'd never be able to close. The days after I decided to hire a private investigator felt odd, like I was waiting for something huge to happen. I couldn't stop thinking about it. The idea of digging into my life for fun started to feel more serious, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Was this just curiosity, or was I diving into something way deeper than I'd imagined? I kept wondering if I was crazy for going through with it. What would the investigator even find? I hadn't done anything too out of the ordinary, right? But the more I thought about it, the more the idea of uncovering hidden truths excited me, even if it was just a harmless investigation. But the more I thought about it, the more I started to feel uneasy. I began to look at the people around me differently, like they knew something I didn't. My friends, my family, they all seemed to be acting strange. Small things like conversations that ended abruptly when I walked in, or the way someone would quickly glance away when I made eye contact. I convinced myself that I was just being paranoid, but the feeling kept growing. At night, I lay in bed, overthinking everything. What if the investigator uncovered something bad? What if they found something that would change everything I knew about myself or the people I trusted? Then the phone buzzed. I nearly jumped out of my skin. My heart raced as I looked at the screen. Nothing urgent, just a message from one of my friends about dinner plans. It was so normal, so casual, yet for some reason, it made me feel even more anxious. I couldn't stop thinking. Did they know something? Were they part of it? Was I just too late to realize something bigger was happening behind my back? The investigator didn't call until the next morning, and when I saw the number pop up on my screen, I almost didn't pick up. It felt like the moment of truth had arrived. My hand shook as I answered. "Hello," I said, trying to sound calm, but failing. "Hi, it's Thomas from the investigation service," he said. "We've started looking into things. Some of the information we've uncovered might be important. I think it's best if we meet in person to go over everything." A cold chill ran through me. He didn't just mention a few updates. He said the findings were important. He wanted to meet face to face. The weight of it hit me like a brick. This wasn't just a casual report or a few loose details. It was real, and whatever he'd uncovered was serious. "We'll set up a time soon," he said, "but trust me, you'll want to know what we've found." As soon as I hung up, I was flooded with thoughts. Was I ready for this? Was I prepared to hear whatever he had uncovered? I wasn't sure, but now there was no going back. I had to face it. Whatever the investigator had found, it was time to know the truth. The meeting felt too close, and the pressure was overwhelming. The investigator called me a week later. I remember the tone of his voice. It was calm but firm. "I've started looking into your background," he said, "and there are a few things I'd like to discuss." I was a little surprised. I figured he'd find nothing of importance. After all, I hadn't exactly lived a mysterious life. But as he spoke, I could tell there was something more. "It's not what I expected," he added. "There are some things you might want to know." The words sent a shiver down my spine. What was he talking about? I had hired him for fun. This wasn't supposed to turn into something serious. But the investigator didn't go into details over the phone. He said it would be best to meet in person. That's when I began to feel a sense of unease. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but it wasn't this. Still, I brushed it off. It had to be nothing, right? We agreed to meet the following day. I spent the rest of the night pacing, thinking about what he could have found. Was I overreacting? Had I maybe triggered something by making this decision? I couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to change in a way I wasn't prepared for. But I showed up to the meeting, trying to stay calm. When I walked into the investigator's office the next day, there was a heavy silence. He didn't greet me with the usual small talk. Instead, he simply motioned for me to sit down. The folder in front of him looked thicker than I expected, and I instantly felt a weight in my chest. I wasn't ready for what was inside that folder. The investigator slid it across the table to me without saying a word. I stared at it, unsure of what I was about to see. He began to speak, his voice low and deliberate. What I found wasn't just interesting. It was disturbing, he said. "You have no idea how deep this goes." My heart began to race. He started going through the papers, each document revealing more than I was prepared for. There were photos, records, and even some old letters. He started pointing to specific details, things that I didn't recognize, things I didn't know existed. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a series of old records, nothing really shocking. But then, he pulled out a photograph that made my stomach drop. It was a picture of a person I had known my whole life, someone I considered a close friend. But the photo didn't match the image I had in my head. It showed a completely different side of them, something hidden, something I never would have believed. The investigator explained how he had traced connections between my life and people I had trusted, and the more he spoke, the more I realized that everything I thought I knew was in question. I couldn't believe it. How could I have been so blind? The investigator showed me more, each new piece of information more shocking than the last. He revealed a web of lies, deceit, and betrayal that stretched far beyond what I had ever imagined. People I had trusted, people I thought I knew, had been hiding things from me for years. And it wasn't just about me. It involved my family, my closest friends, and even business partners. It felt like my whole world was falling apart with every new revelation. The worst part? I had been so wrapped up in my own life that I had never noticed any of it. The people I had surrounded myself with, the ones I thought I could count on, had been keeping things from me. Deep, dark secrets that they had been hiding for years. It wasn't just a matter of trivial gossip. These were things that would change the way I saw them forever. The more the investigator spoke, the more I felt like my life was being pulled apart. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Was this really happening? Has everything been a lie? I wanted to walk away, to forget I had ever hired him. But the truth was out there, and I couldn't ignore it. I had to know the full extent of what had been going on behind my back. So I kept listening, even though it was killing me inside. After hearing all the devastating revelations, I was left in shock. The person at the center of it all, the one who had been hiding the most significant secret, was someone I trusted deeply, someone I had known for years. It turned out that this person had been involved in a criminal enterprise for a long time, one that had directly affected me without me even knowing. There were hidden accounts, fraudulent activities, and even people I had met casually who were also part of this web of lies. I was in disbelief. I had always thought I was a good judge of character. How could I have missed something so massive? The people closest to me, family and friends, had been complicit in keeping this hidden from me. It wasn't just betrayal, it was manipulation on a scale I could never have imagined. I spent days processing everything I had learned. I confronted the person at the center of it all, and they confessed to everything. There were tears, anger, and apologies, but in the end, it didn't matter. The damage was done. I couldn't unlearn what I'd learned, and my life would never be the same. As for the private investigator, he had done his job. His findings weren't just about uncovering a few secrets. They had exposed the truth behind years of deceit. It was a harsh reality to face, but I was no longer in the dark. I knew who I could trust and who I couldn't. The people I thought I knew were no longer the same to me. But at least now, I could make informed decisions moving forward. I never thought hiring a private investigator would turn my world upside down, but it did. It destroyed everything I thought I knew, but it also set me free. The truth had been out there all along, and now I had to figure out how to rebuild my life, piece by piece. It wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face whatever came next, because now I knew the truth. If you would like to see more content like this, or want to see another crazy story like this, just click at the right corner on the screen to watch another crazy storytelling video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on more crazy stories and tough lessons.